A millionaire's panic in Germany turns into an unbelievable bond with a brave cleaner. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The day I was surrounded by the glint of luxury. I had it all, or at least I thought so. Wealth, fame, and influence. But in seconds, my world shattered into a million pieces. Panic gripped me like a vice. I could feel the cold sweat dripping down my back, each heartbeat echoing in my ears like a warning bell. How had I let it get so far out of control? It all began in that lavish penthouse in Frankfurt. The kind you only see in glossy magazines. Glass windows that reached the sky and a view that left you breathless. I was pacing, shallow breaths escaping my lips as I tried to think clearly. A mysterious package had arrived. Its contents would change everything. Scents of polished wood and expensive perfume slipped into a cacophony of apprehension. I glanced around, desperately searching for a solution. Just then, the door creaked open and she appeared. A cleaner, ordinary and unassuming. Her name was Lena. She had frizzy hair that danced with every movement and a glimmer of curiosity in her eyes. She was a stark contrast to my opulent surroundings. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the cleaning supplies like they were fragile artifacts. "Everything okay, sir?" Her voice was a blend of concern and caution. I was about to brush her off, but something about her presence anchored me. Maybe it was the softness in her gaze, or the familiarity of someone who understood struggle. I swallowed hard. No. Not at all. In that moment, I could see the walls of my carefully constructed life crumbling. I opened up, pouring my fears into the air like a whispered secret. The darker corners of my past surfaced, and there they were, shadows that had haunted me for years. Lena listened intently, her deep brown eyes wide, absorbing my honesty. "How did you end up here?" she asked quietly, as if we were now sharing a sacred bond. I could hardly believe my own vulnerability. Running away from mistakes. From shadows I thought money would save me, I admitted, feeling the tightness in my chest ease slightly with every word. A flicker of something flashed across Lena's face. Understanding, maybe. "Sometimes," she replied softly, "we need to face our shadows. Or they'll always follow us." The air grew heavy with tension. The silence that followed was deafening. I wanted to scream. The package, it felt like a ticking time bomb. Was Lena merely a cleaner, or could she be something more? The thought crossed my mind like an electric jolt. Before I could ask, the phone rang, breaking the fragile moment. Instinctively, I snatched it up. The voice on the other end was cold and unfamiliar, dripping with malice. "You've got something that belongs to us. You have until sundown." Suddenly, my heart raced. The stakes had escalated. I turned towards Lena. Her forehead was creased in worry. What would she think of me now? Would she run away from the chaos surrounding me? Or could she be the calm in this storm? The air crackled with uncertainty. That one call changed everything. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The room felt like it was closing in. I stood frozen, phone still pressed to my ear, feeling the cold undercurrents of fear seep into my bones. "You have until sundown," the voice echoed in my mind like a relentless drumbeat. I had no idea what they were after, but the desperate tone in that voice, dripping with menace, painted a portrait of impending doom. As the call ended abruptly, I turned to face Lena. Her expression had shifted, etched with concern and suspicion. Would she see me as just another rich fool, caught up in my mess? Or would she see the vulnerability buried beneath the facade? "Who was that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I struggled to answer, the lump in my throat growing heavier. What did I have left to lose? I don't know, I finally admitted, a raw honesty spilling from my lips. They think I have something of theirs. I don't even know what. They want it back by sundown. Her eyes widened, but instead of fear, a spark of determination flickered. We need to figure this out. There must be a way. The resolve in her voice mixed with my swirling panic, igniting a strange comfort. Yet, the looming shadow of that unknown package clouded my thoughts. The sun slowly crept toward the horizon, and every passing minute felt like a tightening noose around my neck. Lena looked around the expansive room, her gaze pausing on the package, nestled innocuously on the pristine glass table. What if it's in there? I hesitated. Could I trust her with my deepest secrets? The idea of revealing what lay within that box terrified me. But as I glanced at her, the unwavering kindness in her eyes rooted me to a sliver of hope. What if I couldn't do this alone? With a trembling breath, I edged closer to the package, Lena at my side. Okay, let's see what's inside. My hands trembled as I tore the wrapping, the sound sharp in the tense air. The materials inside fell away to reveal a set of antique keys and a map intricate and stained with age. What is this? I murmured, studying the details. The map seemed to mark a location not far from Frankfurt, but its significance was a puzzle I couldn't solve. What does it mean? I don't know, but it could point us in the right direction, Lena replied, her enthusiasm sparking a hesitant optimism. Maybe it's a way to get ahead of them. A rush of adrenaline flooded my veins. Do you really think it can help? She nodded fervently, her frizzy hair bouncing positively. There was fire in her eyes, and in that moment, she transformed from mere cleaner to a partner in this battle against my encroaching nightmares. Before we could unravel the mystery further, another unexpected sound shattered the moment. A gentle knock resonated on the door. Lena and I exchanged nervous glances. Who could it be? As I hesitated, Lena stepped forward and opened the door cautiously. Standing there was an elderly man, his weary eyes framed by generous wrinkles. I'm sorry to disturb you, but I believe you may have something of mine, he said, his voice trembling. A chill cascaded down my spine. Could he be connected to the voice I had spoken to on the phone? Or was it just a coincidence? What do you mean? I asked, feigning nonchalance while my heart thundered in my chest. The man shifted uncomfortably, gesturing behind him as though wary of being seen. I left something at the estate my family owned. The one on this map, he paused, the weight of his words settling like lead in my stomach. And I think I know who's after you. They've been asking questions. My skin prickled with fear, nerves twisting into knots in my stomach. The shadows were closing in. But just as confusion settled in, an unfamiliar warmth crept into my heart, buoyed by this stranger's unexpected kindness. Before I could dig deeper, Lena's hand found mine, squeezing it reassuringly. It felt like a lifeline in choppy waters. What do you know? I pressed the man, urgency tinging my voice more than I should, he confessed. But if you're willing to listen, I can help you if we can get to the estate before night falls. The sun began to dip beyond the horizon, painting the world in a palette of fiery orange and deepening shadows. Panic clutched at my chest once more, but something about this unexpected turn felt promising, as if we might catch a glimmer of light in this relentless darkness. With a shared look of resolve, Lena and I turned to him. Let's go, I said, feeling the weight of our pasts gathering and the shadow of what was still to come lurking behind us, ready to unleash its fury. But unknown to all of us, a figure stood hidden in the distance, waiting. The old man's vehicle was a rusty sedan, barely holding itself together, and I felt a swell of skepticism as we climbed in. What did we know about this stranger? Yet as I settled into the cracked leather seat beside him, I couldn't shake the feeling that our destinies were now entwined. The engine sputtered to life, coughing like a dragon reluctant to wake. Lena watched me closely, her expression a mix of worry and courage. The atmosphere hummed with unspoken fears and hopes, and I caught her glance before I turned to the elderly man, desperate for clarity. Why would they come after me? What do you know? He fiddled with the gear stick, his fingers trembling slightly. The roads twisted away from the city, quelling the noise of the world around us. Your name came up in conversations, he said slowly. They believe you are the key to something they lost, a family heirloom, connected to the estate. His voice wavered, but his eyes held an engaging intensity. Your family probably didn't even know it existed. I leaned back, a knot tightening in my chest. The idea of being entangled in something I wasn't even aware of was terrifying. What is this heirloom? And why would they think I have it? There are stories, legends, he said, his gaze flitting between the road and the rearview mirror, as though he expected shadows to emerge. It's said to be a key, one that opens a door to untold wealth and power if you have the right lineage. Lineage? Lena interjected, her brows knitted. What lineage? It's complicated, my dear. Your family's past may hold secrets you've yet to uncover. But we need to reach the estate and determine if the heirloom is there before they find us. As the old man maneuvered through winding roads marked only by ghostly trees, Lena's hand slipped into mine, grounding me. We can do this, she whispered, providing a spark in the thick air of uncertainty. Still, the weight of doubt settled, gnawing at the edges of my thought. The thought of the looming deadline felt like suffocating pressure on my chest, time slipping away, the electric tension of possibility mingling with dread. Suddenly, without warning, the sedan jolted to a halt, sending my heart racing. The elder pointed ahead, his face as pale as the headlights illuminating the far-off gate of an estate. That's it, he whispered, a barely contained urgency clinging to his tone. Beyond the wrought-iron gates, shadows deepened beneath the looming architecture of the manor. Its grandeur was faded, romance long scratched away by neglect. But I could sense the echoes of years gone by, laughter, secrets, and perhaps its most savage sorrows trapped within its walls. As we approached, heavy silence enveloped us, amplifying the pounding of my pulse. Are you sure we should even be here? I asked, dread creeping back like an unwelcome guest. Trust me, this is the only way. The old man shifted nervously as Lena's grip tightened, keeping my spiraling thoughts tethered. Even so, my mind raced, questioning every decision that had led us here. We parked near the entrance, and as we stepped out, the chill of the evening air bit at my skin. I looked at Lena, her eyes glimmering with a mixture of apprehension and fierce determination. Whatever happens, we stick together, okay? She nodded, squeezing my hand tightly once more as we ventured toward the entrance, the ground crunching beneath our feet. A heavy heart lingered in my throat as we passed through the threshold, shadows pooling in every corner, creeping around us like specters of the past. The inside echoed with our steps, a sprawling foyer beyond the entrance greeting us with eerie stillness. Dust motes danced through beams of fading light. The scent of aged wood and forgotten stories filled the air, swirling with an intoxicating blend of history and mystery. Where do we even start? Lena whispered, her voice barely audible. Where the map leads us, the old man said, pulling out a dimmed flashlight, his face a portrait of anxious grit. The family library. If the heirloom is here, it will be tied to the books, possibly in the vault. As we trekked deeper into the estate, each room we passed told a story of melancholy, a life once lived, laughter now snuffed out. Windows stood like somber sentinels, revealing only the encroaching night. Just before reaching a gilded door at the end of a dim hallway, the tension was palpably. A chorus of uncertainty swirled around us. The old man paused, raising a finger to his lips, signaling for quiet. Listen. It took a second for my ears to attune, but then I heard Ita's soft, methodical tapping coming from the other side of the door. My heart raced anew at the sound, as if danger had followed us home. What is that? I breathed, fear tightening my throat. Someone else is here, the man whispered, eyes wide. And they may not be friendly. Lena's grip on my hand tightened, an unspoken promise of solidarity flickering between us. The shadows felt alive around us, each breath drawing us closer to the edge of something monstrous. Before we could react, the door swung open, revealing a pitch-black cavernous space behind, and the figure of a woman emerged, the dim light barely illuminating her as she raised a glinting object overhead, an imposing smile creeping onto her face. Didn't think you'd make it. I froze, mere inches from what felt like impending doom, as recognition pulled at the edges of my consciousness. My breath hitched, and with it, an undeniable realization, a name that echoed from stories long past. It can't be you, I whispered, dread tightening inside my chest. The moment hung in the air, thick with tension, as the woman stepped forward into the wavering light. The refined lines of her features had a haunting familiarity that sent jolts of betrayal and confusion through me. "You thought you could outrun your past, didn't you?" she said, her voice dripping with both mockery and an unsettling warmth. "Margaret? Is that really you?" My heart raced as memories flooded back, a swirl of family gatherings, laughter, and a chill that had set in whenever she entered the room. "The very same," she replied with a smile that felt simultaneously welcoming and perilous. "How delightful to see you again after all these years. I was beginning to think you'd lost your way for good." Lena stepped closer, her resolve firming beside me, the tension in her body matched only by the prickle of intuition warning me this moment was pivotal. "What do you want with us?" Lena asked, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her stomach. "Oh, it's not about what I want with you," Margaret chuckled, flicking the light across the room and revealing the contours of the sparse grand library lined with dusty tomes. "It's about what we can uncover together. Don't you want to know why they're after you? Why should we trust you?" I shot back, my mind racing. Trust had always been a fickle element in my life, and the grip of doubt gnawed at my slivers of hope. "Because I can help you, dear cousin." She took a step closer, and the air shifted around us like a gathering storm. "The heirloom you seek has powers far beyond what you could possibly imagine, and it's time you understood your family's legacy, cousin." Lena echoed, her brows knitting in confusion. "What are you talking about? Didn't your little friend tell you?" Margaret leaned against the wall, exuding confidence. "You have roots in a bloodline steeped in secrets and fortunes, and this," she raised the gleaming object again, "is but the key to unlocking what you deserve." The promise hung heavy in the air, demanding attention. Yet my instinct screamed caution. "You're lying. You're nothing but a ghost from a past I don't even belong to." But her smile remained, almost sad, as if she knew something I didn't. "Are you really so afraid of the truth?" Her voice softened, an enticing lilt masking the predatory nature of her words. "There's so much to learn, and I am merely an ally in this game. You've wandered into dangerous waters, and the storm is only brewing." A sudden realization coursed through me, whispers of my family history, the way it had always been shrouded in mystery and avoidance. My parents had tucked secrets away like dusty old books. Was Margaret offering answers or merely circulation of old wounds? "We don't want anything from you," Lena interjected, defiance shining in her eyes. "We're leaving?" Margaret's expression darkened for a beat before transforming back into a smile. "You think it's that easy? My dear, you have stepped into a world that will not let you fade away so easily." A crash echoed behind me, a sign of movement. The old man had been observing silently, his expression shifting to one of alarm. "We have to go now," but Margaret held out a hand that sparkled with a glimmer of danger. "You can't run from your thoughts or family blood, dear cousin. It will catch up to you sooner than you think." The shadows deepened around us, echoing with foreboding energy as I tried to digest her words. I could hear the old man's muffled protests, his urgency lacing the air, but all I could see was Margaret's greener tapestry of history chasing me like a ghost, and her words danced unsettlingly on a knife's edge. "Wait," I found myself saying, driven by an urge I couldn't explain. "What do you know about the heirloom?" "I know everything," she cooed, stepping closer, the air growing fraught with unyielding tension. "And if you play your cards right, I could make sure you never have to worry about that dreadful past again. It's a choice. Either you embrace it, or you will find yourself trapped forever hunted." The words sliced into me, reverberating with a terrible truth. Before I could muster a response, the old man rushed forward, shoving open the library doors wider, revealing the tangle of corridors ahead. "Quickly, we have to go," he urged, dragging me back toward the exit, but Margaret stood as a spectre, refusing to relinquish her hold on the moment. "Your real struggle is just beginning," she warned, her voice echoing into the void, sinking deep within my heart. As we stumbled back, racing against the unknown, I could feel the weight of legacy closing in around us, a tangled web that threatened to engulf me. The pounding of my heart turned into a desperate mantra. This wasn't over yet. What would I uncover if I chose to delve deeper into this thrumming history? And would I ever truly escape? A wild scream tore through the night, pulling me back to reality. Someone was coming, and whatever they wanted, it wouldn't be long before they found us in the shadows of the estate. Adrenaline surged through my veins as we darted down the corridor, the echoes of Margaret's words trailing behind us like specters. My mind raced, poisoned by the weight of her revelation, a hidden legacy looming in the distance. What was that? I gasped, barely managing to keep pace with the old man, whose urgency added another layer of dread to our flight. Just a servant, he hissed, glancing back over his shoulder with wide eyes. We need to get to the stairs. They're less likely to be patrolling there. A servant? Lena echoed, a frown etched on her face. What does that mean? Who's after us? The fear in her voice sliced through the thick atmosphere of confusion and danger. Not what, the old man corrected sharply as we rounded a corner. Who? I have reasons to believe they're deeper than just some petty chase. You're unwittingly caught in something far more intricate than you understand. We skidded to a halt at the top of the grand staircase, the aged wood groaning under our combined weight. My heart pounded as I looked over the railing into the darkness below, where shadows flickered as if they had a life of their own. Listen. The old man laid a hand on the banister, his eyes fixed intensely on ours. We are running out of time. That heirloom Margaret spoke of, it's not just a symbol of wealth. It's tied to a darker history, one that could trap you both if you don't navigate it carefully. Are you saying we're in danger because of it? Lena's voice wavered. I turned to her, the tumult of emotion spilling over with an urgency that was smothering me. Between Margaret's sinister charm and the old man's cryptic warnings, I felt like a puppet caught in a storm. Not just danger, but potential, he whispered, his expression softening momentarily. But you must know, with each thread of your family's past you uncover, danger grows. Stay close to me. I won't let you down, I said, surprising myself. The steadiness in my own voice acted like a balm, igniting a flicker of hope within me, dim as it was. But our reprieve was short-lived. A loud voice shouted from downstairs, echoing off the ornate walls, followed by the unmistakable sound of hurried footsteps approaching. They're on to us. I choked out, adrenaline cracking my composure. The old man turned abruptly, motioning toward a narrow hallway leading away from the staircase. This way. It will lead to the servant quarters, and from there. Before he could finish, a heavy thud came from below, shaking the foundation of my resolve. The echo transitioned into loud, shuffling sounds. A group, possibly armed, was sweeping the house. Go. The old man urged, pushing us forward. Our feet flew beneath us, urgency driving our strides as we sprinted down the dim hallway, the distant roars of conflict amplifying our fear. We burst through a door at the end, the scent of old paper and dust wafting around us. This is the storage room. Lena gasped, glancing at the rows of forgotten furniture and boxes stacked high. Quick! The old man glanced around, frantically searching for some means of concealment. Hide! They won't know we're this close if we tuck ourselves away. As we dropped to our knees behind an overturned chaise, I fought to catch my breath, my heart hammering in my chest. The dim light illuminated Lena's wide eyes, mirroring my own fear, but a part of me felt uncharacteristically calm. Maybe it was the comfort of companionship, or the thrill of what lay ahead. Moments later, the door creaked, and voices spilled in, authoritative and menacing. Search everywhere. They can have gotten far. My breath hitched as I squeezed Lena's hand, our eyes locked in a steadying embrace. Fear was an old friend, but this time I was determined not to let it drag me under. They would search high and low, but somehow I felt that if we could just ride this out, answers awaited us on the other side. Suddenly, a new voice broke through, softer, yet filled with an authority that commanded attention. Let them be, they are not our problem. We have bigger fish to fry. My heart raced as I recognized the tone. It was Margaret. What do you mean? Came a rasping reply. Do you think they're simply going to stop? As long as we hold the heirloom, we can dictate the rules of this game. They'll reveal themselves, trust me, Margaret said, an undercurrent of control lacing her words. An ominous realization hit me. I wasn't just running from threats unknowingly connected to my past. We were pawns in a much larger plan, and Margaret's seemingly playful tone masked a chilling resolve. Lena squeezed my hand tighter, as if sensing that the revelations were just beginning to unearth themselves. And then, in a moment of perfect clarity, something else dawned on me. If Margaret was family, what did that make me? What lineage did I truly belong to? Amidst the swirling chaos of emotions, Margaret's voice slithered through the doorway one last time. When the time comes, you'll thank me, dear cousin. Fate has a peculiar way of unveiling oneself. I braced against the weight of her words, the unknown stretching out before us like an unfathomable chasm of uncertainty. Would we emerge from this darkness into clarity, or were we simply slipping deeper into a treacherous legacy? The sound of footsteps faded, leaving us caught in a moment balanced between fear and a burgeoning sense of fate. But as the tension in the air sharpened, a chilling thought raced through me, nudging the corners of my mind. What if this was only the beginning of a far greater descent into a world I never wanted to join? The silence in the storage room wrapped around us like a suffocating shroud, every breath a reminder of the danger that lurked just outside our sanctuary. I could still hear Margaret's chilling proclamation echoing in my head, her words an indelible imprint on my consciousness. Fate. Legacy. What had I stumbled into? Did you hear that? Lena whispered, her eyes darting toward the door. Do you think they'll leave? I was about to respond when suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the main room, causing the walls to tremble. My heart skipped a beat as I glanced at the door, muscles tense and ready. They're making a mess, I whispered nervously, trying to cool the rising heat of panic. But as the chaos continued outside, a strange sense of clarity washed over me. We were cornered, yes, but somehow, amidst the fear, a thought sparked like a match in the darkness. We had to fight back. This was our legacy too, and we owed it to ourselves to reclaim our agency. Despite the overwhelming tempest surrounding us, the noises outside faded into a low rumble as the group began whispering frantically. She was right, it's here somewhere, one voice growled, spurring my resolve. We can't let them take it. What if it's too late? Another replied, laced with doubt. Lena's grip tightened on my hand, a precious lifeline amidst the turmoil. What do they want with us? She murmured, her brow furrowing. Maybe it's the heirloom, I suggested, my breath steadier than it felt. Margaret believes it holds something significant. But if we can outsmart them, discover what she knows, we might find ourselves in a position of power instead of running. A shared warmth flickered between us, an unspoken pact forged in the anticipation of what we could uncover together. It's now or never, Lena said, determination igniting her eyes. If we're going to figure this out, we need to distract them. What about that? I nodded toward a wobbly shelf brimming with dust-covered artifacts, an ensemble of antiquity that seemed more fit for a museum than a storage room. With a swift glance, she understood. A diversion, she replied softly, a ghost of a smile flitting across her face. Slowly, we dragged ourselves to the shelf, our movements careful and silent. We could hear the voices outside intensifying, filled with exasperation. "He'll check the attic next," one bellowed, reverberating through the narrow space. On 3, I whispered, heart racing with the thrill of rebellion. 1, 2, 3, we shoved the shelf sideways, the artifacts tumbling to the floor with a cacophony of crashes. As if summoned by our disruptive instincts, their furious footsteps pounded closer, and my body lit up with adrenaline. Go. I whispered, pushing Lena toward the back exit just past the chaos we unleashed. As the sounds of surprise swelled behind us, we slipped through a hidden panel, one that smelled of mildew but offered safety away from the main fray. Stumbling down dusty steps, we landed in a dimly lit cellar, shadows dancing along the walls, but we had created an opening. Those footsteps faded, giving way to our hurried breaths as we both sought solace from the heat of our narrow escape. "This way," I said, eyeing the distant sunlight peeking through a small window. But the moment was shattered as Lena suddenly froze, her face pale as she pointed towards a single, ornate chest nestled in the corner. "What if it's the heirloom?" She gasped, wide-eyed but fierce. Torn between the fear of revealing ourselves and a bubbling curiosity, I approached the chest with trepidation. Its surface gleamed under the dusty light, intricate carvings swirling across the wood. "Speaking of secrets long kept, are you ready for this?" I asked, my heart racing not just from fear but from the weight of potential discovery. "Let's do this." Her answer was resolute, spurring me onward. With a slow pull, I lifted the lid, the creak echoing like a thunderclap in my ears. Inside lay an array of papers, some heavy with age, others folded neatly, their contents suggesting more than just artifacts. An alchemical journal, a letter sealed with crimson wax each item. Hinted at the length someone had gone to protect and manipulate those of us tied to this legacy. As I sifted through the contents, Lena suddenly gasped again, her hand hovering above a delicate locket lying nestled at the bottom of the chest. Is that? It looks like the one Margaret was wearing. I grabbed it, and as I flipped it open, my breath hitched. Inside, an image of what appeared to be a family portrait was revealed, silhouetted shadows of familiar faces I'd never seen before yet resonated within me. It felt like a piece of something more significant than either of us could have expected, but before I could fully process it, we were jolted by the sound of footsteps behind us, louder and angrier than before. They found the diversion. We have to go. I hissed, shoving the locket into my pocket, determination fusing with panic. As we scrambled to escape through the back of the cellar, my thoughts raced. This was no longer just a pursuit. We had stumbled into the heart of something that threatened to unravel the very fabric of our lives, but in my heart, that faint glimmer of hope persisted, anchored by the promise of discovery even in the face of uncertainty. We were forging bonds and fighting against our fate, and as we burst through the cellar door into the green expanse beyond, the world opened up before us in a riot of spring colors, the danger still looming behind, yet a new chapter. Beckoning. A surge of determination washed over me, yet, just as we reached the safety of the trees, a shadow fell across our path, a figure emerging from the foliage. You too shouldn't have gone wandering, a familiar voice, chilling in its authority. My heart sank into an abyss of dread as I recognized the figure. Margaret stood there, her smile twisted with an unsettling confidence. You're just in time for the real game to begin. The weight of Margaret's words hung in the air like a leaden shroud, pressing down on my chest. An unrelenting panic washed over me as Lena and I stood frozen, eyes locked on a woman who had once been our ally, now transformed into a figure of menace. Her presence felt like a trigger, igniting 1,000 fears both buried and fresh. What do you mean, the real game? I managed to stammer, heart racing in desperation. Oh, my dear, she replied, with a honey-coated veneer that dripped danger, her expression oscillating between amusement and disdain. You've uncovered parts of the truth that were never meant for you. But now that you are here, we might as well play. Lena took a step back, the grass crunching beneath her feet. We don't want any trouble, Margaret. We just want to understand. Oh, sweet Lena, Margaret crooned, her voice softer but still laced with peril. Understanding is often a prelude to chaos. You see, all of this, the heirloom, the legacy, isn't just a piece of family folklore. It's a currency. A bargaining chip. And those who wield it decide whose lives are transformed or shattered. Why are you doing this? I questioned, every ounce of my being wanting to run, but my spirit urging me to stay and fight. What do you gain? Margaret stepped closer, her gaze now intense, piercing right through the facade of composure. I gain my freedom, she hissed, a glint in her eye that spoke of a darker ambition. Freedom from the constraints of family legacy, from expectations, and, most importantly, control over the narrative. Lena and I exchanged a glance, a wordless conversation passing between us and understanding that we had only each other in this moment. The urgency of our plight became palpable, somehow binding us tighter as the stakes became clearer. Whatever you think you're doing is wrong, Lena replied with newfound strength in her voice, though her frame trembled ever so slightly. You can keep dragging us into this. We deserve a choice too. You think you have a choice? Margaret laughed, a sound that made my stomach twist. Look around you. You are trapped in a legacy that binds you tighter than chains. You're in too deep, my little sparrows, with no clear path in sight. My mind raced. I remembered the journal, the secrets it held. Maybe it contained something that could level the playing field. What if we don't play your game at all? I challenged, my pulse quickening. What if we expose what's really happening? You can control everything forever. Margaret's smile faded slightly at my words, her eyes narrowing. Expose? Oh honey, you have no idea what chaos lies within those pages. I assure you, if you dare to uncover anything, it will cost you dearly. At that moment, dread washed over me. For every step I took toward the truth, I could sense the impending doom that her warnings foretold. But with that same dread came a flicker of resistance, a shadow of hope that whispered we might still survive this nightmare. Unable to hold back, I yelled, "Let's find out together then. Show us the game." Before she could reply, a rustle came from the bushes behind us, and a different weight pressed upon the air. A new figure stepped into the clearing, a tall man with a formidable presence, face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. The rhythm of my heartbeat pounded louder, an unrelenting drum as his steely gaze fell directly on me. "And Margaret," he growled, voice deep and menacing, "I told you to stay hidden." Margaret's expression shifted, both surprise and irritation dancing across her features. "I am handling this. They are just two meddling kids who happen to know more than you think," the man interrupted, stepping closer. "And if you're not careful, you might lose everything." "What is happening?" I breathed, confusion mingling with fear. "Who are you?" A moment stretched like an elastic band, taut with tension. The man glanced between us before fixing his gaze on Margaret. "They are the last pieces in this game. Let them go or face the consequences." Beneath the surface, a tide of emotions roiled: fear, anger, confusion, but there it was again, that small flicker of hope. Lena's fingers intertwined with mine, bringing strength where it felt like too little would not suffice. "What's the next move?" I whispered to her as Margaret's composure wavered. "Let's turn the cards over," she replied, resolve hardening in her voice. "Very well," Margaret said, steeling herself. "But just know, there are things worse than loss. Sometimes, letting go can be the fiercest kind of gamble." And with that haunting revelation echoing in the air, the ground shifted beneath our feet, thrusting us into a fray that we could not comprehend. As we faced the unfolding chaos, an unknown player in this intricate game, you realized we were no longer merely fighting for survival. We found ourselves on a precipice, staring into an abyss of family secrets and shocking betrayal. Then came the ground-quaking truth: beneath the locket's innocence and the ideal of legacy lay something far more sinister than we could ever have anticipated. Margaret's gaze hardened, and mine ignited with the flames of revolution, and at that moment, unbeknownst to me, the very foundation of the life I knew began to unravel. The forest trembled with unspoken tension, shadows shifting as the man stepped closer, an air of authority echoing in the silence. "I don't have time for this game, Margaret," he snapped, tone laden with urgency. "You've uncovered something far beyond your understanding." His words unfurled a dread I had yet to grasp fully, the impact raw and immediate. The weight of the moment pressed down on us, and I could feel Lena begin to tremble beside me, her warmth countering the chill of fear creeping in. "Who are you?" I pressed, urgency threading through my voice. Anxiety pooled in my stomach, tangling with the threads of newfound determination ignited by Lena's spirit. I probably should have been terrified, but the mystery was like a torch of hope lighting the dark recesses of my mind. A brief flicker of hesitation traced across the stranger's face before he turned back to Margaret. "You're playing with fire. The moment you revealed yourself, you sealed your fate and theirs," he said pointedly, gesturing toward us. "Enough." Margaret's voice was a low hiss, her bravado faltering as she met the man's piercing gaze. "I control this narrative." A silence enveloped us, thick and suffocating, until the man exhaled sharply, nails biting into the fabric of fate looming over us. "You fool yourself, thinking you hold the reins," he replied, as if we were simply pawns in a game too complex for us to comprehend. "The reckoning is coming, and it won't spare anyone. Not you. Not them. Not even me." Confusion morphed into clarity for a brief moment, igniting sparks of determination. I squeezed Lena's hand tightly, both for comfort and for the unspoken promise of unity. Sensing my intentions, she nodded ever so subtly, her eyes glimmering with unshed tears, a mix of hope and fear manifesting into something stronger. "But what if this gamble can lead to something good?" I unleashed, my voice carrying more courage than I felt. "What if we can challenge everything you all stand for? If this legacy is a curse, why not break it?" Margaret's laughter echoed again, but this time, it felt more fragile, as if the reality tearing at the edges made her defenses thinner. "Children," she purred, her voice almost pitying, "you have no idea the power of this legacy. You think breaking it is possible. You'll draw the wrath of those who have safeguarded it for generations, but isn't it about time we did?" Lena said, her voice steadier, infused with a newfound courage I hadn't noticed before. "We can expose the truth, the harm it has caused. For once, we can take back control. As we stood together, fortified by acknowledgement of our shared pain and hope for change, the man raised an eyebrow, intrigued amidst the tangled emotions. Is that the fight you're willing to commit to? His gaze bore into me, reading the fear reflected in my eyes, yet he seemed to sense the budding determination too, a potential ally rooted in vulnerability. I don't know how it will end, but I know I can't stay trapped in this cycle, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper but resonating like thunder within me. Moved by this unanticipated force, he straightened, fascination alighting in his steely depths. Very well, he said slowly, but this path will demand sacrifices, and harsh repercussions will follow. You'll need all the strength you can gather. This isn't just some simple family feud. This goes deeper. Margaret, clearly rattled, clenched her fists but fought to maintain her composure. You think said revelations won't affect you? This isn't simply about the past, it's about the future. I exchanged a glance with Lena, adrenaline surging in my veins. Then let's do this. Our voices matter no matter the cost. The man took a hesitant step forward, unmasking the vulnerability that lay beneath his authoritative exterior. Then I'll teach you, but you must trust me. Together, we may stand a chance. Margaret's composure cracked, a wave of panic rippling through her. You don't have to listen to him. He only seeks to destroy, she pleaded, desperation pouring like rain in her voice, a stark contrast to her earlier demeanor. In that moment of emotional turbulence, the sunlight broke through the trees, casting a sudden brilliance around us. As shafts of golden rays illuminated the clearing, a sliver of hope permeated the tension. I sensed Lena leaning into that warmth, a silent vow of solidarity forming between us. But just as I began to embrace that hope, a piercing scream shattered the air, high and terrified, echoing through the trees. My heart dropped. It was unmistakably a child's voice, filled with dread. Before I could grasp the implications, Margaret's face became a mask of realization. No, it's too late. And with that, our reality spiraled, the stakes elevating dangerously high as more than just our futures and perhaps lives hung precariously in the balance. The man turned immediately, moving with purpose toward the sound, and the weight of this new revelation sent a chill surging through me. Wait! I called, fear gripping me. We can't leave it. But he was already gone, racing into the trees with a determination that struck me with dread. Lena's grip tightened as we stood there, the echo of the scream still ringing painfully in our ears. What just happened? Lena whispered, desperation lacing her words as we exchanged a knowing glance. Something terrible. And we can't let it happen again. A dawning realization settled over me like an unwelcome guest. The chaos wasn't just around us, it was coming for us too. And the impact might shatter more than just the fragile remnants of a legacy, it threatened to crush the very essence of who we were. Lena, we have to move, I urged, urgency bubbling within me. We have to find out what this means, while we still can. As we sprinted into the trees, propelled by a force that transcended fear, a shocking truth loomed before us. How much longer could we dance along the edge of calamity without plunging into its depths? The forest, once a sanctuary of whispering leaves, now enveloped us in ominous shadows as we raced toward the source of the terrified scream. Each branch that snapped underfoot echoed our trepidation, and I could scarcely catch my breath, the weight of dread pounding against my chest. Lena, stick close! I called out over the sound of our hurried footsteps. The urgency in my voice was laced with fear for the child we had yet to find and for the intangible thread pulling us into this terrifying web. Do you think it's Lena's voice faltered, a hitch of disbelief underscoring her words? I wasn't sure if she intended to finish that thought, and truthfully, I didn't want to hear it. Instead, I pushed forward, navigating through the dense foliage, my heart racing as if it were racing toward the truth yet to unravel before us. A clearing opened up ahead, the sun breaking through in dapples that danced across the ground like restless spirits. And there, at the center, lay a small figure crumpled in the grass, the vibrant red of a jacket stark against the earth's browns and greens. Lena! I shouted, and we surged forward, the world dropping away from us as we reached the childer boy, not more than 6 or 7, his chestnut hair tousled with fright. My fingers trembled as I knelt beside him. Hey, it's okay. You're safe now. Can you hear me? His eyes fluttered open, wide and panicked, the glimmer of tears pooling in them. Instinctively, I brushed a clump of grass from his cheek, and I felt the small warmth of his tiny hand grasp mine like a lifeline, casting me further into the chaos. "Help, they took her," he gasped, voice breaking as if the weight of his fear was too much to bear. "Mommy, who took her?" I pressed, voice hoarse with urgency. Afraid of what he might reveal but terrified of what lay in wait, I shot a glance at Lena. Her expression mirrored the storm in my own heart. "Men in black," he cried, words tumbling out in a frantic rush. "They were here, and they took her." I ran, but they said they would hurt her. Bile rose in my throat, the stark horror of his declaration wrapping around us like a noose. "Stay with us," I whispered, resolving to shield this child from fear, though my own heart threatened to betray me. But as I looked up, Lena's face blanched, a fervency igniting within me as I caught the reflection of our own fears in her eyes. "I knew it," she breathed, voice strained yet unwavering. "This is all connected. We have to help him. We can't let another person vanish because of this legacy." Before I could respond, a rustling from deeper within the forest broke the moment. A sense of foreboding clawed at my insides. "We need to move," I urged, gravelly urgency imbued in every word. "We can't risk being seen. Mommy's just hiding," the boy insisted, scrambling to his feet, looking through tear-brimmed eyes that flickered with the remnants of hope. "She's just hiding from the bad men, then we have to find her before they do," I said, knowing the time to hesitate had slipped through our fingers like sand. "Can you lead us?" He nodded fervently, determination igniting a flicker of courage that mirrored mine. "This way." I turned to Lena, and for a moment, we were just kids again, two souls drawn together by the desire for justice, the need to protect someone weaker than ourselves. Perhaps we were just as naive, perhaps help would require more sacrifice than we were ready to give. But I brushed aside those thoughts, pushing forward for the sake of this boy who had just entrusted us with his mother's life. We plunged deeper into the thicket, the boy leading us as if there was a hidden thread of connection guiding him back to whatever nightmare had unfolded. My body buzzed with adrenaline, propelling us forward, the tangled roots and encroaching shadows only further fueling my resolve. Suddenly, the boy halted, turning back toward us. "There!" He pointed ahead, and I felt my heart lurch. The tangled mess of trees broke away into another clearing, this one dominated by an ancient oak whose branches seemed to sway ominously. Lena squeezed my hand, dread pooling in the pit of my stomach. "What if we're too late?" she murmured, the shadows of fear converging around us. "We can't think that way," I replied, though a part of me wrestled with that very thought. The boy's gaze flickered from the oak tree to me, and a glimmer of recognition crossed his features. "My mom, she wanted to find the truth." The word sunk into me, and an electric shock pierced the air. The truth, they were more than mere words now, they were the keys to unlocking a path smothered by darkness. "Is this about the legacy?" He nodded, looking small yet resolute beneath the weight of it all. "She said stories can break chains, but they can also make dragons." Just then, the blood-curdling sound of laughter ricocheted from behind the oak, cold and hollow. For a moment, hope flickered like a candle in a windstorm, ready to be extinguished. "Run!" I shouted, adrenaline coursing through me. "We have to get him to safety. Now! Don't look back!" We bolted again, but the most devastating of shadows loomed at our backs. I had no idea where this path would lead us, but I felt fear anchor us to a perilous precipice. But the boy wasn't just leading us toward danger, he was guiding us toward a truth buried for far too long. And I could only hope that whatever emerged from the darkness would be worth the descent into chaos as we sprinted toward that waiting unknown. With hope clawing at the edges of reality, I readied myself for the looming confrontation that lay ahead. As we edged closer, the air thickened with anticipation, and I barely managed to swallow down the swell of dread rising in my chest. Just as I turned back to face the clearing, a shape emerged from behind the oak, the silhouette of a figure watching us intently. The world spun, the final moment spiraling around us as the anxiety seeped through every breath. I felt Lena squeeze my fingers tighter, and in that heartbeat, I realized with a shocking clarity that our destinies intertwined in those tangled branches, and we were on the brink of uncovering a truth that could shatter or redeem everything we held dear. The figure stepped closer, finally illuminated by the dim light piercing through the canopy, and my heart sank as recognition pooled in my bloodstream, rendering me breathless. "You," I gasped, bewildered and horrified at the sudden revelation, as the answer we never wanted stood before us, waiting to unravel all hope and plunge us deeper into this unending nightmare. As the figure stepped into the light, I felt the world around me blur, my thoughts tumbling into chaos like a whirlwind. "You," I breathed, the recognition clawing at my heart. The woman standing before us was no stranger. It was Margaret, with her demure smile replaced by an expression of chilling resolve. The way she moved closer felt more like a predator sizing up her prey than a long-abandoned family member returning home. "Mommy?" The boy cried, hope flickering back to life in his eyes, only to have it extinguished in an instant by the shadows pooling in Margaret's gaze. "What have you done to him?" I demanded, my voice tremulous with wrath. Just when I'd thought we had navigated the storm, Margaret stood there, poised to unleash a new torrent of chaos. "Sweetheart, I'm afraid you've got it all wrong," Margaret cooed, her tone laced with a venomous sweetness. "I'm here to save him, to save all of us. Did you think your childish attempts to escape the family legacy would work? How many more lives will you destroy?" Lena stepped forward defiantly, but I felt her confidence faltering as Margaret's expression darkened. "We are not part of your games any longer," Margaret only chuckled softly, shaking her head. "Oh my dear, you think stubbornness can win over a bloodline written in shadows? You will bow to the truth eventually. You already have everything you seek locked away in fear, but that very fear will bind you to this fate unless you choose to embrace it.no." The little boy shouted suddenly, indignation and fear etched into every feature. "You're the one who's wrong." Margaret turned to him, eyes narrowing, her coolness shifting to a feral intensity. "Watch your tone, child. You cannot stand against what and who you are against your own blood." Her gaze locked back on me and Lena, the smirk reappearing, drawing a line in the sand. "You want to resist? Fine. But this legacy demands blood, whether it's yours or someone else's." Something ignited in me, a fire born out of desperation. "You don't own us. The stones in your past won't continue to shackle our future." And as the mantra filled the air, something clicked, a bridge between defeat and hope that had eluded me. Margaret's laughter rang hollow amidst the tense atmosphere, but it was the boy's innocent bravery that illuminated the path ahead. "You can't control us anymore," he exclaimed, taking a step toward her, however small, yet strong with the weight of his innocent defiance. From the corner of my eye, I saw Lena glance at me, and suddenly it was as if a dam had burst, releasing the very essence of who we were in that very moment. "We're not afraid of you, Margaret," I joined in. "We will not be your pawns." The atmosphere shimmered with the impending tension, an electric charge hinting at a battle waged not just between family but for our places in the narrative. And the boy stood at the center, the reflection of purity in a world fraught with darkness, giving us the strength we needed to push forward. Margaret straightened, tension tightening around her features, as if she saw a freshly forged weapon in the very essence of unity radiating around the three of us. "You believe your little alliance will be enough? You truly think you are prepared to handle what lies ahead?" "I don't think we need to handle anything alone," Lena said, voice steady with newfound resolve. "We're stronger together. The truth may have fractures, but together we will reveal it." The shadows behind Margaret writhed, twisting unpredictably as the atmosphere charged, an unseen force at play. "There's no turning back, remember, the past is not just history. It's a living force, then let's confront it," I shouted, determination roaring within me. "You may believe you control the legacy, but it needs to change. We can rewrite what being a Vega means." Margaret's expression cracked, the stoic mask dissolving momentarily. "Do you think you have the power? After everything I've done to build this legacy, your rebellion? You'll only invite ruin upon yourselves." But standing there, our hands clasped in solidarity, I realized that our courage burned hotter than any fear festering in the shadows. I could feel the chains of expectation and the shackles of betrayal threatening to pull us back into the dark, but it wouldn't happen, not while I had Lena and the boy by my side. "Maybe you can see it yet," Lena whispered. "But every heirloom exists as part of something greater beyond just power and control. It's time to let the truth come to light." And with that, I charged toward Margaret, a fierce cry echoing in my soul. She stumbled back, fear mingling with disbelief. The very fabric of everything she held could unravel at our hands. We will not allow your legacy of shadows to dictate our lives. We will forge our own path. I roared, driven by the weight of generations struggling against misfortunes written before us, accepting not just the legacy but the chance to shape it. In that moment, a shockwave of energy surged through the clearing, reverberating like the first strokes of dawn melting the darkness. Together, we pushed back. The shadows around Margaret shivered like leaves caught in a tempest, and I could see a flicker of fear dance behind her composed facade, but just as quickly as the moment ignited, it darkened again. The realization of where true strength lay struck me. His battle was not merely between me and Margaret, it was a fight for all those ensnared by the legacy's chain. We could finally break free if we anchored ourselves to truth and vulnerability, learning not just what had happened, but who we could become. Do you truly wish to be free, Margaret? I asked, my voice quieting now as a flicker of surprise crossed her face. Do you not want to see what we can build if we stand together instead of apart? For a moment, it seemed to resonate, cracking the armor of bitterness around her heart. But all too quickly, she shook it off, the storm brewing in her eyes returning with a vengeance. You think freedom breeds empowerment? She growled. Freedom means chaos, then let us embrace the chaos. The boy chimed in, an innocent brightness radiating through the shadows, his tone steady and unwavering. Maybe chaos is what we need to find our true selves. A profound silence draped over us, power resting in the boy's words settling into the stillness between us. I realized that beneath every layer of darkness lay the possibility for change, for wholeness beyond the legacy we'd been handed. Margaret's eyes hardened, the twisted smile returned, masking vulnerability with a cloak of determination. Perhaps you will regret this, little boy. But I saw lines of fear etched across her forehead, uncertainty surfacing from deep within, and then, as if on cue, a fierce cry echoed from the traiss, her voice choked by anguish. Margaret! Give me my son back! You have no right. In that moment, the air shifted, the very fabric of our choices colliding as a new player emerged from the shadows, a woman, desperate but resolute, charging into the clearing. My heart raced as the boy turned, eyes widening in recognition. Mommy, with the aura of newfound strength straining against the weight of legacy, time seemed to stand still. For the first time, the darkness revealed a sliver of light, the chance to rebirth and redefine what family meant. Margaret! The woman shouted, face twisted with a mix of anger and sorrow. Let him go. He deserves to be free. In that instant, clarity encapsulated everything as Margaret's expression twisted, the rage and recognition fighting within her. This isn't over, she hissed, and I could sense the fracture lines in her resolve stretching taut. The boy stepped forward, drawing strength from his mother's presence. Mommy, it's okay, he said, voice firm but trembling. I'm not scared anymore. The exchange felt electric, igniting a spark that surged through each of us, the truth woven between us beginning to weave a tapestry of connection. In our vulnerability, we had found resilience. Look at what you have done, Margaret, the woman's voice softened, cutting through the thick veil of confrontation. We can break this cycle if we own our choices. For a heartbeat, the tension hung heavy but clear, and I saw Margaret's walls trembling, the shadows around her waning in the face of collective courage. You, the history, the legacy, it can change. Will you embrace it? With every emotion pouring into that charged silence, Margaret's stony expression faltered, just a fraction, but it was enough. It was a crack in the armor we had not thought possible, a glimmer of remorse. At that moment, echoes of possibility resonated between us, power of our truths, of broken chains on one side and the prospect of transformative reconciliation on the other. Then, as if the universe conspired to unify our fates, a golden light enveloped the clearing, shimmering through the shadows and igniting hope in ways I had never dared to imagine. And it dawned on me, forgiveness wasn't just about letting go, it was about choosing to rise together. As the luminescence washed over us, I could see it past emerging as fractured fragments, not as chains but as mirrors reflecting every choice we had made. And I knew, standing in that field of uncertainty together, that none of us had to walk that path alone. Margaret stared at her own legacy, the shadows at once weighing down yet also offering liberation. And in that persistent silence, a greater truth emerged. Transcending fear, you have to let go to truly grasp freedom, she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. With that revelation, I felt the world shift. The legacy was ours to reclaim. The journey toward understanding began here. We would weave a new history together, a narrative born from resilience and unity. As our hands joined Lena's, the boys' mothers, and even extending toward Marguerite, a promise ignited within, a shared vow against the darkness. The burden of the past lightened as I whispered, "This is just the beginning." The ground beneath us sparkled with renewed energy. The narrative had begun to shift, the tides turning toward an unknown horizon where healing lived beyond the haunt of legacy. And as our laughter broke through the encroaching shadows, I realized that perhaps, in the chaos of it all, 1,000,000 fears could converge into 1,000,000 opportunities. At that moment, beneath the waning dusk, I understood I had broken the chains, not just those of my past but for all of us gathered there. The dreams that had once been eclipsed flickered with illuminating promise. We would write a new story, one of hope, humanity, and unyielding love, and with every heartbeat, I knew this would be a tale worth telling. After all, our legacy began now.